Any other team matches that?
New York and opening day in baseball, it's the best.
The pride and the power returns to Yankee Stadium Tuesday, April 5th. Be a part of it all. Here on the official radio station of the New York Yankees, Talk Radio 77 WABC.
School busing, housing integration, civil rights legislation, affirmative action. Aren't these the programs and phrases that the Democrats have always told us will lead to a truly egalitarian society in which anyone, regardless of race or religion, would have the same opportunity as everyone else? Why, that individual could even become president of the United States of America. And yet, Bob, now that the Democrats are faced with the possibility of the chickens coming home to roost, why, they're forgetting their idealism. They're forgetting their moralizing that they've told us. Why, I think they're in danger of losing the moral high ground because, why, they've been talking of derailing the Jesse Jackson juggernaut. You know, Bob, the Democrats have told the people in South Africa that they must have black majority rule. Why, even if it means having a convicted communist terrorist like Nelson Mandela as president. They said the U.S. was wrong to oppose Salvador Allende in Chile, a man who was a communist and lackey of Fidel Castro, because he was elected by the Chilean people. They even support the Ortega junta in Nicaragua because they claim they were duly elected. And yet, now that there are Democrats who are out there in the primary saying, yes, we want Jesse Jackson, why, what's happened to majority rule? What's happened with their phrases about duly elected? I think that the Democrats have got to go ahead and keep that moral high ground. If the Democratic constituency wants Jackson, even if it means him being nominated for president and giving them the worst electoral catastrophe in their history, losing the presidency, the Senate, the House of Representatives, even if it means, Bob, that the Democrats are going to go the way of the Whig Party of the 19th century, well then, by God, I say, let them keep that moral high ground and show us that they truly believe in their ideals. Thank you.
All right, Frank. Very good.
Oh, Bob, a few days ago, he was very, very insulting on TV. With those poor Cocker Spaniel eyes, you know, he told the people of America that he had a war chest of $100,000, which is total nonsense. He must be getting millions from Gaddafi, which is one of the reasons why Gaddafi has been keeping quiet for the past year. He wants to stay out of the limelight. Not to mention, of course, the fact that he was bombed. But he must be pumping millions into this Jackson campaign. The other thing I wanted to say was a little different. You know, people talk about prejudice. We never talk about why people are prejudiced in the sense that we do not give specifics. Let me give the people out there some specifics as to why people are prejudiced. You know, when these minorities invade an area, all of a sudden, for one thing, the phones don't work. They put chewing gum in the return slot. They walk around with those dumb radios blasting all day long, all hours of the day. Even the fast food restaurants, you know, Bob, they no longer put out the sugar and ketchup on the tables because they take them home. They congregate like a small army of baboons in front of business establishments. They're loud, they're boisterous, they're filthy in the way they talk. And these are some of the reasons why people are prejudiced. There's a reason when someone is prejudiced. It's not because of the color of the skin or because of where they come from or religious denomination or nationality. It's because of how a good number of people of one particular group act. That's not to condemn the decent people, of course. And we know we've got filthy whites out there, too. But percentage-wise, these people are right up there in the 80s.
Well, I think the problem is a person should be judged not on what they look like, but on how they act.
Right.
And if a person acts the way you describe, then we should have the right to avoid them without being called bigots. And that is my argument. That is what drives me up a wall.
You see, I go a step further. I say, yes, I am prejudiced. I'm against prejudice. I'm prejudiced against people who do these things. So if you do these things, I am against you.
All right, Tony. Thank you for the call.
Right.
Walter, you're on WABC. Hello.
Yeah. Bob?
Yes, Walter.
How you doing?
Listen, I usually catch you driving around, and this is like the first day that I get off here. I got some time to call you.
Good.
But I wrote you a nice long letter, and reason I know you don't like letters, but I figured I'd put something down regarding this drug problem, you know?
Really, Tom, I'll tell you something. Why don't you be a man? Stop being a little sneaky. This is really Tom.
Sir,
This is really Tom.
You have this illogic. If I sound like somebody I'm not, I apologize.
No, drunk or sober. Of course, I've never heard you sober, come to think about it. So at least drunk, you sound like Tom. And that's something else you have in common. In addition to the dumb voice and that obsession with the Palestinian state, Tom...
It should be, Bob. It
yeah,
should be.
It is Tom. Tom Nelson, right, Tom?
I'm not...
What is your obsession, Tom, with the Palestinians?
Humanity, sir. Humanity.
It is Tom.
There is a...
Get off the phone, for heaven's sake. Somebody send him a fifth of 4 feathers, please. Hello, Dwayne.
Yes, hello?
Hello.
Hi. In New Jersey, I believe a white man, well, if you call him a man, was arrested for the attack and rape of a black woman. She was held for quite some time and victimized during this time, sexually victimized. This rape obviously patterned after the Tawana Brawley case. Now, in my opinion, if this was a white girl victimized by a black man, you would use your entire 4 hours to vent your outrage. But since she isn't, you haven't so much as referred to it. Nor surprisingly, have you bent over backwards and or given any of your rationalization to justify this rape, which only adds to the notion that I think you're quite prejudiced, overwhelmingly anti-black. You criticize each and every one black, from Michael Jackson to Jesse Jackson.
Wow. I hadn't been aware that I criticized Michael. I mean, everybody knows he's a kook, but that isn't criticizing him.
No, I've heard you criticize him.
Yeah, all right, fine. Well,
spectrum.
Okay, look, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction, Dwayne.
Satisfaction? I'm
not going to give you the satisfaction.
You can rebut. It's absolutely true.
Hey, Dwayne, okay, it's true. You're absolutely right. I'm a racist. How does that grab you, Dwayne?
You are. I'm glad you admit it.
Yeah.
Admittedly so.
So since I am, how come I'm talking to you?
That does not necessarily mean you're not a racist. You're quite racist.
I see. I'm quite racist. Well, thank you for the diagnosis.
White trash, in my opinion, as well.
I beg your pardon?
You're dirty white trash. You hear me?
Dirty white trash? Is that a racist statement? Why do you have to allude to my race?
Because
can't you say, hey, look, hey, Dwayne, you just exposed...
Black people so often...
Dwayne, you just exposed... You know, I was listening to you talk.
I'm sorry.
I was listening to you talk, but you don't want to listen to me. So guess what? There's no point in going on. But isn't it interesting that Dwayne accused me of being a racist and... wanted to call me names, which is okay. I don't mind. I quell when guys like Dwayne call me names. But why did he have to bring my race into it? Couldn't he have said, I was trash, I was... Oh, he could have said so many things. Now I feel like Edmond Rostand. You could have said it so many ways. But since Dwayne is what he is, he wasn't able to. He doesn't have the verbal skills. But what really gives him away as being the hypocrite is he had to call me white trash. Pete, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, Bob. Yeah, this is perfect timing. This is Pete. And I'd like to just talk to the audience about the one group a little. It's talking about the white racial group, and it's an activist group, and it's not.
I asked you a question. I asked you a question. I would like an answer.
You were very glad to hear the fact.
I would like an answer, Phil. Why do you give different locales each time you call lately?
Because it's not really important where I come from. What's important, I think, is maybe I may have something to say.
Why do you give different locales? I'll tell you why. Because in your own psyche, you're very immature, Phil. You
really think that's why I give different ways?
I think so. I think a mature person wouldn't play these games with Mr. Diaz.
Oh, come on, Mr.
Oh, come on yourself.
Say what I want.
Come on yourself. I got your number, Phil, and that's what makes you nervous.
Nothing makes me nervous, Mr. Gray.
It should. Have you looked in the mirror lately?
Mr. Grant, what I wanted to say.
I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. Aren't you, you're not in Woodbridge, so why did you say Woodbridge?
I said Woodbrook.
Woodbrook?
Yes.
Where's Woodbrook?
Who the hell knows?
I see. In other words, you made it up.
Mr. Grant.
What a fake, a fraud. Yes, go ahead, Phil.
Okay.
Phil the fake is on, folks.
Mr. Grant?
Yes, fake. Phil.
Okay, call me Phil the Faker, okay?
Phil the faker, alias Phil the phony, yeah.
People called up yesterday in reference to the Japanese, the fact that $20,000 was going to be allotted to each individual that was taken to Montana and was put in some sort of a concentration camp. During World War II, there was a Japanese division, volunteer Japanese division, that served in Italy.
That's right.
It was the most decorated division in the annals of America.
That's true.
Go for broke division. The children of the people that were interned in Montana and North Dakota. They had more replacements. The original division consisted of 1,900 men. Of the original 1,900 men that served in Italy, there were only 342. They were credited for the breakthrough at Casino. These are the people that we talk about. And I have one thing to say. Anyone that isn't grateful to these people that saved the lives of Americans that went there voluntarily, they weren't drafted, they enlisted. They didn't even have their own kind to serve under. They served under American Anglo-Saxon officers. But eventually, they had to make battlefield commissions, and they had more battlefield commissions than any other division in World War II.
And they were attached to the Fifth Army, and they did everything you say they did, Phil, and I thank you for the call. That's Phil of Wood, what did he say it was? Woodbrook, or? Yeah, Woodbrook. He created his own town. He's a legend in his own mind, so he created his own town in his own mind. Hey, Diaz, that you wanted to talk about the Gentile baby.
I don't like Jaime's, and I think that...
Get off the... Hey, listen, I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. I'll make a deal with you. Can you get down here to the WABC studio? I haven't felt this way in a long time, but I want to punch your lousy anti-Semitic nose down your lousy throat.
From New York with your stupid crap against Jesse Jackson.
I don't know what Jesse Jackson's got to do with the fact that this guy's an anti-Semite. I don't understand that. The guy says they ought to canonize Demanyuk for getting rid of all those Jews, and then when I tell him what a jerk he is, I'd like to punch his nose down his throat. He comes back with, I shouldn't talk about Jesse Jack. What does one have to do with the other? You figure it out. We have an hour and 9 minutes to go. Some people might say it's an hour and 9 minutes too much. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, through the courtesy of the Yugo Matsututaguanda family, Rudy Ashpera Concierge, here is Paul Needlenose Menage and his predictions on the outcome of tomorrow's 114th running of the Kentucky Derby. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Needlenose Menage. Mr. Menage.
Thank you, Bob. Hi out there, railbirds. I'm going to give you the picks on tomorrow's running of the Derby. Now, by the way, I want to say Bonanima Paul Vario, may you rest in peace. I knew Paul. He died in the big house down in Texas. Good guy, made man, good guy. You see him there in front of Gino's out there, Mulberry Street. Good guy, good guy. Okay, now, you know, that prison food, it don't do good for you. You know what I mean? All right, tomorrow. Here's the way to go. Straight, win, place, show. Are you ready? Okay. Winning colors going to come in first. Winning colors to win. You got that? Okay. To place, 49er to place. 49er to place. And coming in the show, the show horse. It was the show horse. That's Artie George Russ Jr. Artie's okay, by the way. The boys like Artie, I want you to know. The boys think Artie's okay. And here's the show horse, Private Times. Private Times, the show horse. So there it is. There's your finish. Winning colors, 49er, and Private Times. Now, I don't want you to use OTB to make your bets. Instead, I want you to call Magumbar. I want you to call Magumbar at, can I give the number on here, Mr. Grand?
No, I think that would not be proper, Mr. Minaj. If you give it, you mean you want to give the number of a bookmaker?
Well, yeah, he takes bets. He ain't no bookmaker. You know, he can cover. He can cover.
No, Mr. Minaj. I think we'd better not allow that. We can't go this far.
Okay. I'll see you when the Preakness comes around, and I'll see you at the Belmont Stakes. And remember, with Paul Needlenose Minaj, they're all winners.
That's right, Art. Arthur George Russ Jr. asks, is he out on a work release program? And he is. As a matter of fact, he's coming out with a book very soon on the best places to go. He points out that if you want to improve your bridge game, you go to Danbury. If you want to improve your tennis game, you go to Lewisburg. And he says at the Elgin Air Force Base, they have great fried chicken. I mean, he knows them all. He's been in all of them. The family, Rudy Aspera Concierge. And the reason we're calling Mr. Minaj is what he did on Friday on this program when we asked him to make his predictions on the Kentucky Derby. And Mr. Minaj and everybody, here is an actual tape recording of a portion of that conversation with Paul Needlenose Minaj on Friday. Winning horse, and Paul Needlenose also got the place horse, and let's see how it actually turned out. Now, you heard the predictions. Now let's see how it actually turned out. Okay, you know how it turned out. Paul Needlenose, congratulations.
Oh, thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bob. But how did it turn out for real?
All right, we'll listen.
Down the stretch they come. Winning colors in front. Here comes 49er on the outside. Lucas and Stevens. It's a driving finish. Winning colors by a head. Wire to wire with Gary Stevens in the iron. It was 49er on the outside, coming from far back at the head of the stretch to narrow the gap and lose it.
All right, well, Paul Needlenose Minaj of the Hugo Matsutu Gwanda family, I'm sure that the family really cleaned up on that. You must have bet a bundle. How much did you have? How much did you have on the nose there for winning colors?
$2.
I beg your pardon?
$2. I bet $2.
Heavy bet, Paul. Heavy bet. Paul, we thank you very much. We congratulate you on your picks. And we'll be talking to you before the running of the Preakness. Thank you, Paul Needlenose Minaj. I tell you, I went into the bank today, and Lenny and Mrs. Lenny out there in Brooklyn, you know, they're all Amalgamated Bank. I went in there, and Lenny says, who's going to win the Preakness? I said, I don't know anything about horse racing. He says, no, you predicted the outcome of the Derby. I said, I didn't. Paul Needlenose Minaj did. Everybody's talking about Paul Needlenose Minaj. And I hope Paul Needlenose Minaj doesn't have to go back into the big house anymore. I hope he stays out of trouble. Yehuda, you're on WABC. Hello.
Yes, I'd like to talk about the Middle East. You know, about what's going on in Lebanon. You know, Shiites are fighting against Shiites and Palestinians fighting against Palestinians. You know, I think they have already like 100 killed and 200 wounded.
I think that's the greatest news we could have had.
That's the best news, but I'm trying to bring out, and also Jim Kirkpatrick wrote it today in the Post, that in the news item, it's brought down in page 13. When it's but the West Bank, it took the Israelis 4 months to kill 160 Palestinians, and it's all in page one. How come the New York Times?
No, it's different. It's a different type of thing. It's a different type of thing. When you have a virtual war going on with two sides armed to the teeth shooting at each other, that's one thing. When you have a large civilian population with an occupying power, that's another thing.
Bob, I'd like to make another...
Although I agree with Jean Kirkpatrick in everything she says, my answer to you was just given. Yes, what else?
Yes, a friend of mine saw that couple, and, you know, one Arab was watching, you saying that, you know, what happened in 48, that Deir Yassin, that they killed out a whole village. The truth of the matter is, they did kill out the whole village, but the Arab didn't bother to tell the rest of the story. When the goon went to Deir Yassin, they gave him, order to surrender, you know, and they came out with white towels. That's put down. As soon as they got into Deir Yassin, they started shooting from all over the place. Shooting, I think they killed a lot of the goonies, anything. That's why they got so angry. They killed the whole village. You know.
All right, Jehuda, I thank you very much. Richard, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, this is Richard.
Yes.
Bob, do you remember Algonquin J. Calhoun?
No.
He was the lawyer on the old Amos and Andy program.
Well, I didn't listen to the Amos and Andy program, so you've got me there, pal.
Well, I think it's very unfair to keep Amos and Andy off and keep Maddox and Sharpton on.
Very good, very good.
Maybe it's a very subtle promo for an Amos and Andy comeback. I'm not sure. But I'm going to keep my ears open.
But Amos and Andy meant no harm. They didn't hurt anybody. They didn't try to destroy anybody.
Right.
The Three Stooges were just a bunch of idiots that kept punching each other and sticking their fingers in each other's eyes. But these guys, Sharpton, Mason, and Maddox, they're vicious. Right. They're vile.
Yep.
They want to really create... I tell you, I don't think they're going to rest until they see a race war created. I think that's their goal.
I can't figure it out either.
Thank you for the call, Rick.
Right on, bye-bye.
Jim, you're on WABC. Hello.
Yeah, hello, Bob.
Yes, Jim.
Yeah, you know, I thought you knew about the reason that the New Jersey listeners are not calling. You know, they're all outside planting their tomatoes today.
Today is Planting Tomato Day?
Oh, yeah. Well,
let me ask you a question. Why have... you know, I've quit eating tomatoes because they taste like cardboard. No, really. I never was a big tomato fan. I must tell you that. But... even the limited number... Tomatoes have been tasting like cardboard. Where are they coming from?
Oh, okay. All right, those that you're buying in a store, forget them. But the New Jersey tomatoes, you know, today's the perfect day to plant them because we got 3 days of rain coming. You know.
All right, so everybody's out planting tomatoes, huh? Okay.
So, and that's where everybody is today. So the next 3 days...
What about you? You didn't plant your tomatoes, did you?
I sure did.
Well, then how come you're calling?
What? I got them in the ground, and I just...
All right, what makes you think other people haven't either? Now, I got to take that New Jersey line out. It's getting on my nerves.
No, don't do it.
Getting on my nerves.
Don't do it. You need us, New Jersey.
I love you, but, hey, if you guys want to be lazy, you want to be stunad, fine.
Well, we've got other interests, too. We got to go to Atlantic City and get that free money.
Yeah, Atlantic City, suckers game. All right, thank you very much.
No, wait a minute, Bob.
What?
I got something to ask you. Oh, that young fella that committed suicide in MIT, I was so saddened by that. And I was just wondering,
the kid was from Morristown, huh?
How does the MIT suicide rate compare with the national suicide rate, you know? For the country as a whole.
Well, you weren't listening to the newsmaker, because according to Mr. Campbell, it compares favorably. Listen, I must move on. I thank you for the call, Jim.
All right, thank you.
Okay. But you know, it's funny. I don't like tomatoes. We better check. No, I don't want to take time for Pete Tauriello. I'll tell you a little later. Pete?
Bob, westbound Route 4 is backed up for 3.5 miles through Forest Avenue, Preakness, following an earlier accident. Eastbound Route 4, heavy but moving steadily from 208 to 17. Northbound 23, we have the usual horror show up there at Packanack Lake Road. They're backed up for about 1.5 miles. And on the Garden State Parkway, very heavy northbound from 144 to 148 with a stalled vehicle blocking the left lane. Eastbound Route 80 dropping off to 25 miles an hour from 280 out to 23 in the construction zone. And at the at the Queens Midtown Tunnel, there you go, 25 minutes in, 10 out. Where is everybody tonight outbound? Brooklyn Manhattan Bridge is slow both ways. 59th Street Bridge outbound lower deck in real bad shape due to an earlier accident. Stay out of there. Southbound West Street, 15 miles an hour from Chambers up to the GWB. I'm Pete Tauriello, WABC Shadow Traffic.
And that report sponsored by Tri-State Cadillac.
The more foreign currencies like the German Deutschmark go up against the dollar, the more rational the argument for a Cadillac versus imported cars. In the vernacular, the Cadillac is a better buy. Compare Mercedes flagship, the 560 SEL, and the Cadillac Fleetwood 60 Special. Both are four-door luxury sedans. Both have powerful light alloy V8 engines and fully independent four-wheel suspension. Both have anti-lock brakes and over 2 tons of stately presence. However, the Mercedes seats only 5, the Cadillac 6. Both have interior wood trim, but ours is American walnut. And oh yes, the Mercedes costs about $70,000. The Cadillac Fleetwood, not half that. See your Cadillac Tri-Statesman, because there is a difference between luxury and irrationality.
Oh, boy. Just like yesterday. I guess after putting on 100,000 miles in just 2 years, this car has seen better days. That is a salesman, I travel around a lot, and I've seen a lot. So, Mr. Bankerman, if you want me to get my car loan at your bank, don't promise me the world. Promise me you've got what I need. Show me the kind of new car loan I haven't seen. Like one with a low rate. One that's approved before I talk to the dealers. And hey, I want to spend my time in showrooms, not in your bank. Give me what I need. That's the only reason I'll ever like a bank.
CrossLand Savings knows what you really want in a bank. And right now, you can get a new car loan with a 9.9 annual percentage rate approved without even leaving your home, even before you step into a showroom. All you do is call CrossLand for the loan or more information.
Yeah, just give me what I need. Why else would I like a bank?
CrossLand, the bank you could actually like. Member FDIC and an equal opportunity lender.
Everyone who vacations in Europe inevitably finds himself running out of vacation long before he runs out of Europe. So it's important to remember that Europe doesn't just come in the form of a continent. It's also available in a city. KLM's Amsterdam, a place where you can walk from ancient canals to stately concert halls, from festive street fairs to the hushed reverence of 16th century churches, and harbors presided over by windmills. A city where great museums rub elbows, and shops of every imaginable nationality peacefully and delightfully coexist. So this year, begin your trip to Europe in its most European city, Amsterdam, aboard KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, the airline of the seasoned traveler.
From its Amsterdam hub, KLM offers arriving New York passengers 80-plus flights a week to Stavanger, Bergen, Gothenburg, and other Scandinavian cities. Just call KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, a reliable airline.
All right, let's get back to our busy telephones here on the Bob Grant program. The phones have gotten busy. That makes me feel... Actually, it's Terrace on the Park, a catering hall in Flushing Meadows. I've been there many times as a guest speaker, sometimes as just a guest. I've seen Il Supremo there many, many times prior to his becoming Il Supremo. It is one of the most popular catering halls in the tri-state area. And there are people who want to have it closed down. Does anybody know why? Obviously not, otherwise you would have called the Bob Grant Show. And I want your honest, thoughtful opinion on this issue. They want Terrace on the Park, catering hall in Flushing Meadows, closed because of someone who is going to be honored there at an affair, at a banquet, on Saturday. Now, this person who is being honored is an individual that I certainly have no regard for. Someone, as a matter of fact, whom I regard as really not just un-American, but anti-American. But if a group wants to honor him, and they have hired Terrace on the Park Catering Hall, then I am of the opinion that they should be allowed to do so. Now, do you know who the jerk is who is being honored, and do you know who the people are who want to close down the outfit? Obviously not, otherwise somebody would have mentioned it. Rudy Ashpera Concierge, here with his predictions for the Preakness, Paul Needlenose Menage. Mr. Menage.
Thank you, Bob. 28, 42, 68.
Wait a minute. What's the numbers, Mr. Menage? All right, Mr. Menage, we don't have much time. Will you give us the finish of the Preakness? And I hope you do as well with that as you did the way you picked the Derby.
Yeah, the race for Saturday. That's tomorrow. Here's the pick, and I take it into account the money track. First of all, let me say, I'm proud of Winnie Colors, because Winnie Colors came true. But she don't like mud, so Winnie Colors gonna finish out of the money. I give Winnie Colors fourth place. Okay, all right. Now the Shakaroonie, the number 3 horse, that would be the show horse. Brian's time coming in 3, the show horse. 49er gonna come in second again. 49er, second place, coming on hard. 49er, second place. That's the place horse. The winning horse, are you ready for this? Sit down now. As Mr. Grant would say, get the digitalis. Cephas. So the finish is Cephas. 49er, Brian's time. Winning Colors, I'm sorry. Winning Colors coming in number 4. And that's it. Thank you, Bob.
Paul Needlenose Menage, brought to you through the courtesy of the Hugo Matsatutuguanda family, Rudy Ashpera Concierge. And by the way, the Bob Grant Show on WABC is the only radio program that the FCC permits to have a relationship with the Hugo Matsatutuguanda family. Rudy Ashpera Concierge.
Everybody duck.
Let's say hello to Peter here on WABC. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Bob.
Yes.
Go out and mortgage my house and put $100,000.
Relation around here, white or black for that matter, by pulling these kinds of things. I guess they're a little bit afraid.
Who? No, wait. I'm not quite sure I know who you're talking about at this.
Talking about Sharpton and Maddox and Mason.
You think they're afraid? What are they afraid of?
Of the verdict. See, if it doesn't go their way, maybe I think that they're preparing themselves for what they consider the worst, which is, probably what it should be, which is not guilty.
God forbid that any one of them should say, well, I disagree with the verdict. I will accept the decision of the jury. It's in the American system, but I disagree with it. God forbid they would ever have the maturity, they would ever have the decency, they would ever have the American approach to this thing. But they are not Americans. It isn't I who say they're not Americans. They themselves say they're not Americans.
True. I didn't see them.
You see any American flag around any of their rallies? You see a flag of Trinidad? Let's all go to Trinidad.
Yeah, and I bet you Al Sharpton's gold chain, the gold from that probably came from South Africa, but he doesn't know it.
Yeah, and how dare they say that it's no different than apartheid in Africa? I'll tell you what, Sharpton and company, for one day, For one day, we'll run this town just like it were South Africa. Then you'll see the difference, you phonies. Every one of you, you demagogues.
And I didn't see him protesting that Andre, what's his name?
Andre Nichols, who murdered that poor priest?
Yeah.
And then he was acquitted on all charges?
And where is he now? Back at Rikers.
Yeah, he's in Rikers only for a while. He'll be back out of the street before you know it.
That's right.
Thank you for the call, Stan.
Okay.
Carl, you're on WABC. Hello.
Yeah, hello, Bob. You know, these bums that are going to demonstrate this afternoon, my opinion, they're nothing but a bunch of hypocrites, and they're a bunch of racists themselves. The reason I say they're racist, because after Howard Beach, Sharpton and those phony lawyers, Mason and Maddox, they contrived this boycott of all white businesses, which means they blamed every white for Howard Beach. When that Carolyn Pittsfield came out saying that the whole white race was racist, they concurred with that statement. Now, why I say they're hypocrites, because I think it was Mason said about apartheid in South Africa this morning, he made that statement. Now, in South Africa, it's not the government forces of President Botha that are killing the blacks. It's those thugs from the communist ANC, which these bunch of jerks support. And also all these bums, they support four of the worst outlaw governments in the world, Angola, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Zambia, who have been committing mass genocide against the black population for the last 10 years. They've been slaughtering them left and right. And the only reason more blacks have not died is because they go into South Africa, where President Botha has saved their lives by giving them sanctuary. So how dare these bums criticize the South African government, who are not killing blacks but saving lives, and they support governments and the ANC, which has killed thousands.
But that isn't even the issue. That isn't even the issue. Carl, that isn't the issue here. But you see, they've got you arguing a non-issue. Forget about it. That's not the issue here. The issue is, how dare they call for these kind of demonstrations? How dare they vow that they will cripple rush hour traffic? How dare they do that?
Exactly. And not to sound repetitious, but I'll say it again, these bums are the racist ones by condemning all whites for that accidental killing at Howard Beach. It wasn't planned. It was an accidental killing. And how dare they condemn every white person for that one incident?
All right, thanks for the call. It's 24 minutes past 2 o'clock, 2:24. Hello. Hello, Ellen. Ellen, are you there? I never did like the name Ellen anyway. Hello, David.
Good afternoon, Bob. I'm just as outraged, even though I'm in New Jersey, I'm just as outraged about this situation as the New Yorkers are. Because, sometimes I feel, that being black myself, I feel that I sometimes have to often apologize to the decent, white, law-abiding citizens, for the amount of, just absurdity and, just total hypocrisy, that I'm surrounded by. I was on WLIB, and Sonny Carson was a guest in the studio, and I called the show, and I ripped him to pieces. And for a long time, they were so stymied they didn't know what to say. And then Sonny Carson comes out with this remark: I hear you just about every week, and it's people like you who are trying to divide the black community. Now, what kind of an outrageous remark is that?
Well, what that means is that he's not interested in discussing an issue on its merits. He's not interested in what is right and what is wrong. He's interested in a war. Mm-hmm. And he feels that since he and his tribe have declared war on the rest of us, that because you are black, you should sign up for the duration and not question any other factor involved in this sociological issue, mm-hmm. but just say, okay, what do you want me to do? What rampart do I man?
And, I've got to really tip my hat off to CORE, because, Rorian has proven himself to be a true black leader, because he is having no part, of this charade on the parkways in New York.
Well, I know that. You know, they've ostracized Roy. Roy is a pretty isolated figure. I mean, whenever he appears on the program, whenever you hear him on this program anyway, he doesn't say that. Because Roy is not a complainer. Roy is not one that feels sorry for himself. But they have isolated Roy. They've tried to make him a pariah. Now, how he actually stacks up in the community with the average black person remains to be seen, because very rarely do you hear the so-called average black person. You're only hearing the Daughtries and the Maddoxes and the people like that. And, of course, their white stooge, William Kunstler, who probably is the number one racist of all. All right, David, thank you for the call. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
You too, David. It's 27 minutes past 2 o'clock.
This season. And I'm home on Christmas leave. And I'm calling about this Howard Beach thing.
Yes.
Okay, I was listening to a radio station. They had the service for Michael. And one of the speakers was talking about, the blacks being a great African people. Okay, I've been over in Africa before, and I can tell you that the blacks in Africa and the blacks in America have just about nothing in common except their skin color. And that there are an awful lot of white people over there who can claim that they are an African people, too. So I don't know where they're coming off with all this African people, thing. Then they also, I think it was Alton Maddox mentioned that nowhere on earth are people as pressed as we are. Well, it seems that I don't see any great exodus of blacks from America to Haiti or these other countries. It seems that all these other blacks from various other countries are always pouring into the U.S.
You know what I wonder about is when a jerk like that makes a totally inane statement like that, what is going through his poor excuse for a brain when he says it, number one, and what the dumbbells listening to him are thinking. Do they really believe that?
I don't see how they can.
I mean, what would this jerk, Cedric Sandiford, suddenly looming now as a survivor, God bless him, a survivor of Howard Beach, what must he think knowing that he broke his neck to get here from Guyana? Or Griffith himself, who would... do you know that he's from Trinidad? I mean, these are people who came here voluntarily. They left because they wanted to come to the greatest country on the face of the earth. And if Alton Maddox really believed what he said, hey, Maddox, you jerk, if you really believe it, I will give you the fare to go wherever you want to go.
Exactly. When I came in, it was in 1974, and there were a lot...
When you came in where, Joe, when you came in where?
In the Marine Corps.
In the Marine Corps.
And I want to know how to invest it so I can forget about the whole thing.
Well, if you have an IRA and you're only 34, you don't touch that until you're 59 and a half.
Right.
So what do you mean you don't know how to invest it?
Well, I had a mutual fund, Federated Stock Trust, and I lost...
Well, now you're talking about a mutual fund. I thought you said you had an IRA which had achieved a total valuation of $10,000. When did you open the IRA?
Well, I started building it about 5 years ago.
All right, 5 years ago. Did you open it with a $2,000 contribution?
That's correct.
And made subsequent contributions of $2,000 each succeeding year?
That's correct.
Well, if you did it for 5 years, it must be more than $10,000 because it will have earned some kind of interest.
Yes, but I also lost some money on the last time in October. I lost about $3,000.
All right, did you have it in a bank?
Yes.
And you've been rolling it over. Is that what you've been doing?
Correct.
And now you have until the 15th to make a contribution that's good for this year, which you can deduct providing you're below $33,000 a year in income.
Right.
You qualified for a deduction again this year?
Well, last year, 1987, I qualified for about $1,800, I believe.
I see. So you're a little bit over, so
right.
You can deduct only 60%.
Right.
Next year it goes down to 40%. I think what you ought to do is... I won't give you any specific advice on this, but what I think you ought to do, first of all, I approve of you having it all in one spot. I think people who have IRAs here, there, and everywhere, it's just confusing, and I think it's meaningless.
It's confusing enough already. You're just trying a mutual fund.
Since you are only 34, and if you don't intend to do anything, which of course you would have to pay a severe penalty for, then I would suggest Oh, 34. That's a lovely age. I would suggest 0 coupon bonds for you.
All right.
That's what I would suggest.
That's what I was leading to, and that's why I wanted to call you before I made the decision to transfer it over.
Yeah.
There's a guy here who wants to sell you some cheap muscatel. Oh, yeah? Tell him I'll call him after the program.
It's 5:29. Let's say hello to Phil now on WABC. Phil, as in Phil Latzman. Hello, Phil.
Yes. Mr. Grant?
Yes, Phil.
Happy New Year, and I, for one, was very glad to read that your contract was renewed for a very, very long time.
Where did you read that?
It was in the newspaper.
I told him to keep it quiet.
Well, it wasn't a newspaper.
We got a program director here that went around bragging. Well, that's all right. I don't blame him. That's all right. What'd you call for, Phil?
It also stated that you had given up hope of running for public office.
I didn't. Well, that's...
That's what it stated.
All right. Okay. Let's talk about something important, like what's on your mind?
Okay. What's on my mind is, well, number one, I'm going to make a resolution. I'm not going to talk about anything that may be controversial because I guess I don't come over properly.
That's true. You don't come over properly.
Well, I certainly, I don't mean anything by what I say, except I've always felt that representation is just a little overbearing in
in other words, too many Jews, right? Hey, Phil, too many Jews, right, Phil? Isn't that?
No, you said it. I didn't say it.
No, but that's what's on your mind at all times. And that's why you and I always wind up arguing, because you're so anti-Semitic, you can't see straight, you can't think straight, you can't talk straight.
Well, one of us isn't talking straight right now. I happen to be very calm.
I'm not calm. I get agitated because I know that in the back of your mind, no matter what you start out talking about, you wind up with some anti-Jewish shtick.
Well, let's try me.
Let's try you. What, do I have to give you a test?
Okay. What I want to talk about is reverse discrimination.
All right.
A few years ago...
By the way, Phil.
Yeah.
Since everybody wants me to promote other programs, let me promote my own. Tomorrow, there's a guy by the name of Chester Grabowski supposed to come in. He publishes something called the Post-Eagle. You'll like him. He's real anti-Semitic. And he's going to be a guest on the show because I challenged him to back up some of the obscene statements he made in his newspaper about me. And in a recent front page of his little paper, he says, editor accepts invitation from radio host Bob Grant. So he's going to be on tomorrow. Chester will be on. You're not a friend of his, are you, Phil?
Believe me, my opinion, the only thing that I ever tried to express was the overabundance of representation by certain minorities in this country.
Can you be more specific?
I don't want to talk about that. I really don't want to talk about that.
You want to give the Jews a rest, okay.
What I want to say is this. A few years ago, a diner was held up by a minority group.
Do you want to identify them?
Well, they were black.
Why do you find it so difficult to say that? Why do you go, well, they were black? Why do you do it that way?
They held up this diner.
That was out on Long Island, pal.
And they forced a woman in this diner to do acts on the ones that perpetrated the crime.
What are they? You know, you're being so vague. You're making me nervous. What did they force her to do?
Well, they forced them to do,
perform fellatio? Well, I remember the case, Phil. I know
remember the case.
All right.
Can I say this?
I don't know why Phil gets me nervous.
Why is it that when it's black on white, a situation like that was so detest and so ugly, it was never, no one ever kept that going in the paper. Just like the time when people went to a concert in Central Park, and there were hordes of blacks that attacked the people walking out of this concert.
Yeah, we should have sent Diana Ross a bill.
Excuse me?
We should have sent Diana Ross a bill.
Well, why is it that people that more or less represent this city, and there are I think there's still at least 50% white people in this city, why is it that we can't get anyone to speak out and say, look, what they did in Howard Beach was gross, but what you did in Central Park could never be forgiven.
Well, you said it. Thank you, Phil.
Okay, thank you.
Right now, we're going to check in with Pete Tauriello, checking on WABC Shadow Traffic. Hello, Gene.
Hello, Bob.